What's the scariest thing in the world that no one knows about? Rabies has a 100% kill rate, and if you've stepped foot outside in the past year, you might have it. Let me explain. Imagine you go camping and at midday decide to take a nap. While you're sleeping, a tiny brown bat lands on your bare knee and bites it, and even though the bite is so small you don't even feel it, that's all it takes for rabies to get inside you. The bomb has been lit and your nervous system is the wick. The virus spreads along your brain, infecting every part of it but doing zero damage. You have no symptoms. It may be 4 days later, it may be a year later, but the camping trip is most likely forgotten. And then one day you get a slight headache. At this point you're already dead. And your death is far from peaceful. First your headache turns into a fever and a general feeling of being unwell. You're fidgety and uncomfortable. As the virus begins finding the nerve endings in your brain, it begins to rapidly reproduce, starting at the part of your brain that controls not only communication between the brain and body, but also sleep cycles. From there, you become extremely anxious and scared as the virus secretes your fear hormones. You still think you have only a mild fever, but suddenly you become horrified of everything around you. All sounds, noises, and even most day-to-day images are enough to truly scare you. This is because the rabies is chewing up your amygdala. As your brain becomes hotter with the virus, you begin to lose muscle coordination and balance. You start tripping and falling over everywhere, and even slurring your speech. You twitch and spasm, and at this point you think maybe it's a good idea to go to the doctor. Sadly, even if the doctor runs the necessary tests to see what is wrong with you, the most they'll be able to do is tell your loved ones what you died of later. Usually by this point, muscles start tensing up and a mild form of paralysis starts. The headache you once had is indescribable agony, you are unable to walk without falling over, and you can't form sentences without drooling or slurring your speech. You also feel extremely hot, so hot it feels as if you are burning. This is when the hydrophobia, the fear of water, starts. You're so hot all you want is water, but you can't drink. Every time you do, the virus swells up your throat and you get puke. Because of how scared you already are, this then turns into a legitimate, active fear of water. You're extremely thirsty and hot, but just looking at a glass of water makes you gag and cry in fear. If you made it to the doctor by this point they would have put you on IVs, but even that's futile as the sight of being hooked on machines in such a panic state is enough to spike your adrenaline into heart attack levels. If you don't suffer from cardiac arrest, you shortly begin having hallucinations. You taste sounds and see smells. Shortly after that, you started forgetting everything and everyone. You're alone, hallucinating, thirsty, confused, absolutely terrified and in pain so agonizing keeping you alive is cruel. Everything also scares the crap out of you at this point. These strange people in lab coats. These strange people standing around your bed crying, who keep trying to get you to drink something and crying. Eventually you slip into the dumb rabies phase. Your brain has started the process of shutting down. Too much of it has been turned to liquid virus. Your face droops and you drool. You're unaware of what's around you. A sudden noise or light might startle you, but for the most part, all you can do is just stare at the ground. You haven't slept for 72 hours, and you're not going to until you die. Just remember, you might have rabies right now too, you just don't know it yet.